Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elton Satusky. I'm a partner at Wilson Sonsini. First disclaimer, it said CEO at the bottom, I noticed. I'm certainly not the CEO of the firm, but so we're a big sponsor of the event. We're really proud to be associated with Launch, but has anyone tried to get on the Wi-Fi this week and been successful? Raise your hands. I couldn't get on myself, so first, thanks WSGR. I could not use the Wi-Fi. Apologies for that. But so jumping in a little bit about the firm, for those of you who don't know, we grew up in Silicon Valley with the likes of HP and Apple long before my time. You represented Google when it was in the dorm room, and just love working with startups and everything that this conference is about. We're committed to. So it's a little bit of a maybe drier subject today, but we'll try and make it entertaining. But raise your hands. Who's actually gone through fundraising for early stage companies, just so I can kind of calibrate the level of discussion? So a handful of people. Okay. Just hitting the slides here. So, really practical stuff. Yeah, what's driving a lot of early stage companies is keeping their legal costs low when they have no money, when they're bootstrapping. People don't have money to go to fancy dinners or expensive apartments, so they definitely don't want to be paying their lawyers, tens of thousands of dollars for completing a financing. It's just money out of their pocket. And, it might sound counterintuitive, but we're kind of relationship driven. We're totally aligned with the entrepreneurs in keeping those costs low. It's kind of a commodity business for us, doing the initial financings. We want to keep it very standard, don't want to incur a lot of costs. So one great tip is just to get everything organized early, so you're not paying us to run around, chase signature pages and find out there's another founder that didn't sign his invention assignment agreement. So keeping it kind of organized, get all your documents to us, really good tip to keep those legal costs low, which is a major focus when you're raising $50,000 or $100,000. 10% of that can't go to pay for the legal bill at the end of that. And the last bullet point there, sometimes we start companies and it's scrambling at the end. All of a sudden you're at launch, you met an investor, they want to give you some money, but you haven't even issued your founder stock yet. So there's some tax issues with that. So, it's never, whether it's us or one of our competitor law firms, whoever you're representing, it's never too early to kind of get your house in order with respect to your startup. You just want to do that kind of early, get the cheap stock issued to the founders before there can be tax issues if you're scrambling to do that right before you raise some money. Any questions at this juncture? I'll keep running through. So there's a few kind of deal structures that we typically see. Convertible debt for all the 100+ companies that are in the demo pit is probably what most of them are going to be doing really early stage. It's easier, cheaper, quicker, and it avoids the conversation of valuing your company. So it's really something that appeals to both the company and the investors. Series A, preferred stock financing, you got to put a value on the company, issue stock, and we can get into more complexity in a few later slides. And then there's some other ways people do it, and maybe less sophisticated non-Silicon Valley types. You can just issue common stock, but if you want to issue options to your employees, you really don't want to be issuing common stock to investors. It kind of causes all kinds of problems. Straight debt is another tool that one can use, but you typically need assets to do that. Or receivables, so early stage companies are normally not in that position. And there's a kind of a newfangled tool that we've been using with some of the larger venture funds in their micro investing, which is convertible equity. It's kind of got the benefits of equity without pricing it, so some entrepreneurs are worried about doing debt with early stage and losing control of their company if they've got the wrong investor in there that's looking to put the company into insolvency and steal the assets. But I mean we thought that would become more popular, but it really hasn't. Question. On the how does the convertible equity work? So basically, it looks like debt, but it's pursuant to a capital contribution agreement. So instead of being a loan on the books of the company, it's put in, and maybe this is sleight of hand, form over substance. It's put in so it's a capital contribution on the non-liability side on the balance sheet. And then there's just a contractual agreement that, like a note, it will convert in the next financing round. I mean, it's usually done at a discount when we've done it. So I suppose you could put warrants attached to it as well. I haven't seen it that way. So the driver of how complex your financing and what type of structure you want to do is usually the amount raised. If someone's like Tim and Microventures is going to put in $10 million into a company in their syndicate, it's probably going to be a price equity round. The convertible note debt rounds are usually lower amounts of dollars. Slide's a little old. It's probably $1 million and under. I've done convertible notes that just run on forever for 2 years, and you're at the $2 million mark at some point. But that's not in the norm of things. So really, sub 750, sub $1 million, it's going to be a convertible note because, again, no one wants to pay the transaction costs involved with negotiating all the agreements with respect to the equity. And the other point is, if you're doing equity, someone's got to say, we want to value your company at $5 million, and we're putting $1 million in, and so we get 20% of the company. And that can be a very difficult conversation to have early stage because it's all about the promise of the company, and you're gonna be the next WhatsApp or whatever, but your product isn't even complete yet. So the investors don't necessarily want to pay a fair price. They want to pay, they're in the business of maximizing returns, so they want to pay within reason the cheapest possible price that they can to get a piece of your company. So the way to avoid contentious interaction early stage is to just say, well, let's not value it, let's just do convertible debt that will some other person 6 months or 9 months or a year from now will price, and it will convert then at a discount or whatever. But it allows you to raise some money early stage in a more efficient way. Questions? No? Sure.
Will these slides be available for you to email to us later on? Could these slides be available for you to email to us later on?
Sure.
That would be great.
Absolutely. So again, focused on cost, really practical stuff. A convertible debt deal on the low side, if the investors haven't hired counsel and it's kind of, they're professional angels that have done this 5 or 6 times, probably going to cost $5K because everyone's going to say, yeah, just go use the 500 startups form documents and pump it out and it's done. No one really worries about anything. No fancy terms, just 20% discount, and it can be done very cost affordably. A Series Seed or A financing, there's a lot more documentation, and people typically will do more diligence, also because there's more money going in, so they care more and are going to make sure that all your founder invention assignment agreements are signed, and they'll have a lawyer go look at all that stuff. So it ends up costing 15 to 25. I mean, a later stage deal, it can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, where sophisticated investors are doing patent diligence and all kinds of creative structures that get put in place. But early stage, smart investors will want vanilla terms. They're not going to, and we can talk about the terms a little later in a few slides, but they're going to want to keep things vanilla and just negotiate on valuation, so that, again, smart investors with practical entrepreneurs result in pretty reasonable legal fees. Things can sometimes diverge from that, but then again, a real full-blown Series A financing with a top-tier venture fund, they're going to put the time and effort in to do more diligence, and 70K is probably on the high end in this day and age because people like to do things efficiently. The last thing a venture fund wants is, again, their money going in to the company and it going right back out the door to pay for legal fees. That's not something that they're too thrilled about. So time it takes. So convertible debt, I mean, it definitely, and these dates in here, a week for convertible debt, 2 to 3 weeks for seed, over 3 weeks for a full-blown Series A. I mean, I think those timelines are probably on the most aggressive, optimistic scale, and really the timeline starts when the term sheet's signed. I mean, it can take you 6 months to get to from my introduction at the launch festival to an investor to getting to the term sheet, and can take, in this day and age, things happen fast as well, but these dates are really signed term sheets, so a lot of the material terms and understandings are negotiated in the term sheet, and then a week from that to get cash in the bank, and it's probably more like a week to 2 weeks. And seed and Series A, again, these timeframes are probably on the best case scenario. So this is an interesting one. Who drafts the term sheet? And what a debt round can be an angel, might be a micro VC, probably not a full VC, full-blown, large cap venture capital firm, but so in debt rounds, which are typically angel investors, they may be less sophisticated themselves, so they're going to look to you and your counsel to draft a term sheet. When someone calls me and says, "Oh, I don't know, we're doing a financing," sometimes they don't even know whether debt or equity. I'm the push for really simple terms. I mean, you want your lawyer drafting these things because you can drive the agenda, keeping it simple, favorable to the company. If a VC is involved, they're always going to deliver you a term sheet. So if sometimes there's this inclination, I want to give the fund a term sheet to move it along because I haven't heard from them. That's not going to really fly, and it's probably going to actually come off looking a little unsophisticated. And again, Series A, even if it's angels, they're going to want to control term sheet drafting. And just a slight point, probably 99 out of 100 times, once that term sheet's done, your counsel is going to draft the financing documents. They have to live with those documents. You and your counsel is going to have to live with those documents going forward, with board meetings, dealing with shareholders. So, sometimes, and I find that maybe East Coast VCs will want their legal counsel to draft the documents. It's very impractical because you'll be dealing with forms and processes that you're not familiar with. So every time you want to call a board meeting, you have to go look at your bylaws and make sure you're in compliance with it. So if that ever happens to you, definitely just push back on that hard, and that will usually save the day. So, what will your lawyer do in the financing? We talked about the term sheet, due diligence, making sure all your we talked about that as well, making sure all your formation documents are, clean. Everyone's heard the term 83B elections. It probably causes a lot of confusion, but just get all your filings that need to be done with the IRS and the state of California. Obviously, people need to look to their lawyers for that. Drafting, negotiating definitive agreements, and then, administrative tasks. I mean, a good tip if we're trying to keep costs under control is, I have some founders that have done this a few times or just really organized. If there's a clerical person or even the founder themselves can run around getting the signature pages, right there, those kind of administrative costs can add up to a lot. You can save yourself a lot of money if you can get organized and do those things yourself, especially in kind of smaller financings. So just, how am I doing for time? Just, I don't, 5 minutes? Okay. Convertible debt, these are basic terms. You can get a lot more fancy than this. And again, from the company side, you want to push, anything fancy is going to be typically investor favorable, not something you're going to want to entertain. Sometimes you can't control that. So I'm finding in a convertible debt deal, 9 out of 10 deals nowadays, it's 8% interest rate, 20% discount, and with some sort of cap on the valuation that the notes will convert into in the financing, and that's about it. I mean, sometimes maybe 20% of the time there's some sort of mechanism where if the company gets sold before the financing, there's some sort of return other than just your money back plus 8% interest at the time of the M&A. I mean, people will sometimes focus a lot of energy on this, but it's not that often before you do your Series A financing and the notes convert will a company be bought. I mean, that's like 1 in a million scenario. So yeah, we can all hope for that. Does it happen? Sure, but it's a pretty rare circumstance. And then it's kind of an older term, warrant coverage, which is you'd either do a conversion discount of 20%, so your money that the bridge loan investors put in and converts in the Series A at a 20% discount. So if it's if they've put in $100, they're going to get $120 worth of stock in the Series A. The alternative mechanism is warrant coverage, so that they get actually a warrant to purchase some percentage. Again, let's just 20% standard number in the financing. So the difference between a discount and the warrants is the discount is just really free stock. The warrant coverage, you'll have to actually buy that stock at some point in the future. So it's really just upside protection. And the investor would never exercise that warrant until there's a liquidity event. So that's they're similar, but that's the nuance, little difference. She's bringing the microphone.
I'm on mic 4.
Yeah, just the question about the cap. It's sort of like setting a maximum value of the company, right?
Right. So we can get into cap. Kind of also a relatively newer term, I think, came about because of runaway valuations in recent years. And so what happens is original, very early seed investors are putting money in a convertible note. They're giving the entrepreneur money to build value in the company, right? So you're using their money to build value, and then you go do a Series A financing at a 20 million pre. They are hurt by that, and you build all this value, you get the benefit of it, and they actually facilitated that, but they have to now pay a $20 million pre-money on the Series A preferred stock that they buy. So the cap concept is, okay, no matter how high your valuation is, like a $20 million valuation, doesn't matter. Our note will convert at no more than $5 million pre-money at the next round. So even if it's 20 million pre, we get a 5 million pre, which means we actually don't get a 20% discount. We're going to get a 75% discount on what new investors are going to pay. So that hopefully is a quick explanation of what a cap is for people that haven't seen it. That makes sense. So yes, it sets a maximum valuation on the conversion of the bridge loan amounts, but not necessarily on the new money. I mean, the one nuance to that is new investors that come in, when they see that cap, I think, at least my concern, and it's a good day when you raise a financing above your cap. That doesn't happen that often either, right? So that's someone's hit their milestones on time, on schedule, and everyone's happy and everything's great. So my concern, and you just don't see it that often because practically it doesn't happen, is, well, when a new investor comes in, will that note cap drive the valuation for the new money? And I think it depends on the new investor. Some people, it must have some kind of effect on the valuation that they put in there, but yeah, I don't have enough data points to really know how that happens, and I think it's really fact specific. A long answer to a short question.
One question. Do you want to take a couple questions?
Sure.
Questions? Who's got questions? Oh, I know you got them. This is really complicated stuff. You guys came up here to learn about it. Go for it. Sorry about that.
I'll just keep flipping slides so
Yeah.
that the pictures can go.
Yeah. Yeah, about 1-2 more minutes, yeah.
There's a question.
Was there? Okay.
I just wondering if we can get your slides afterwards, because
Yeah.
it's quite
So,
a lot to digest.
Absolutely. I mean, anyone who wants to give me their card after, or I can give you my card and you can email me. I'll send the slides around.
Are you in the demo pit area? Are you guys in the demo pit area? Are you around today?
We're
okay?
around.
Yeah.
We actually don't have our own booth, which I don't know. I think we thought would be a little cheesy or kind of ambulance chaser, maybe. I don't know, but.
Well, if people want to find
Yeah,
you,
I'll hang
he's
out
going to
here in the
hang
back.
out, stop him, ask your specific questions because this is really complicated stuff. And, you know, fair disclaimer, you're not giving official legal advice, right? You have to make a disclaimer like that, probably. Anyway,
Hold on.
great tips for these from Wilson Sonsini.
So
Sorry.
is my email address there?
Oh,
So
yeah, we'll go back.
there's
real
another
quick,
way
Katie.
to contact me.
Oh, okay.
Or Satusky, ESATUSKY at WSGR.com.
Thanks so much. Give it up.
Thank you.